Welcome to or welcome back to Tiff Reads Books, where I read books and then I talk to you about them. Today I thought I would talk about this question that I asked on Threads almost a month ago, which was for recommendations of books that kind of sounded a little bit like Into the Drowning Deep or Leech by Hiran Ennis, because I discovered while reading those books that I really like science fiction that focuses on the biological side of things and has like an investigation plot line. And Into the Drowning Deep for me really did that, and so did Leech. So let me give you like a brief plot overview of the two. So Into the Drowning Deep follows the crew of essentially what becomes a research vessel, but they are owned by an entertainment company because they sent out this crew to find mermaids, and the crew maybe did, and the whole vessel disappeared. They got some footage back that showed something that looked like a mermaid attacking the ship. So they're out over the Challenger Deep, and they're sending this boat out over the Challenger Deep to do this investigation. And essentially they're taking water samples, they're sending videos down, they're doing all of these little biological things. And when they do find a mermaid, they're doing even more biological things. It's a horror, it's science fiction, but it's not spacey science fiction. It's very much our world, but fantastical a little bit, because obviously we have mermaids, but also does the whole science fiction corporation bad thing, but keeps us in this like investigation, biological stuff, science-y. We're definitely doing the scientific process in this book. Leech similarly has a scientific process. So Leech follows this doctor who goes to this abandoned, very gothic manor to replace the doctor before them. And they discover this parasite, and they spend so much of their time analyzing and examining and experimenting on this parasite to figure out what it is. So there's a mystery element, and we're using science to uncover the mystery, but it's also very much futuristic, post-apocalyptic, gothic, it's horror, it's a lot of things. So those two things scratched very similar itches for me, and I was like, oh yes, this is my brand of science fiction. This is the science fiction that I really, really like. So I asked on Threads for things similar. Now, a book that could kind of work along those lines for me, but was very different in tone, was The Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. So this is not horror at all. This is much more lighthearted. It was funny. However, our main character, as they are exploring this kaiju preservation, they're learning about the science of the kaiju. It's being told to them, therefore being told to us, but it's very much the ecology of kaiju, because kaijus in themselves have this whole ecosystems on them. And so it was very much not like physics or astrophysics science, but ecological science. And I found this kind of to be similar, but a very different vein of those two books. So I really like things like this, things that are based on ecology and on biology and less on physics and math, just because those are my special interest areas. So one of the other books that I have been recommended for an extended period of time for that is Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation. So this is the first volume of Jeff Vandermeer's now classic Southern Reach series. Area X has been cut off from the rest of the continent for decades, and nature has reclaimed the last vestiges of human civilization. Expedition after expedition into Area X has failed to uncover its mysteries and the true nature of its danger to the world. Now, a 12th expedition makes the attempt. A group of 4 women, an anthropologist, a surveyor, a psychologist, and the narrator, a biologist. Their mission is to map the terrain, record observations of their surroundings, and above all, avoid being contaminated by Area X. A harrowing cosmic mystery at the vanguard of eco-fiction, Annihilation has only become more pertinent to our reality 10 years after its first publication. So because we're following the biologist, we're having eco-fiction, but we're following the biologist, so we should be getting some biological investigations of the things that are going on. So I haven't read this yet. It's on my list. Essentially, a lot of these are things I want to try and prioritize in July. I'm going to be talking about, but also things I haven't heard of. Some of these they're books I've literally never heard of that were recommended to me. Most of the answers have nothing to do with what I requested, which I find kind of funny. However, some of them I could see where people could have got them from me saying Into the Drowning Deep or Leech. So I got some First Contact books, which are not what I was asking for, but could be interesting. I got some Lost Vessels. There's a vessel lost at sea. We're going to go try and find it. Definitely could see how that could be taken from my asking for books that are like Into the Drowning Deep, because we do have that aspect of it. And then I got some ecofeminism, which I think is probably because of me mentioning that I had this recommended to me. They do sound interesting, and I'm going to start making a list of ecofiction books that I want to prioritize. But I don't think I'll talk about most of these in the video because I have like a very long list. So I've broken them down into some categories of things. I also was looking at the Wikipedia pages for these, so I'm going to pull up the Goodreads as we go, because the Wikipedias do tend to spoil things rather than giving like pure synopses. So the other microbiology one actually though is the Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. I am not a big fan of Michael Crichton, so I'm just going to mention this one briefly. I read Congo. I had tried to read Jurassic Park a long time ago. Jurassic Park was also mentioned in this, but so this is Andromeda Strain is a 1969 novel by American writer Michael Crichton. It documents the outbreak of a deadly extraterrestrial microorganism in Arizona and the team of scientists investigating it. So the reason I kept it on here is because it has the team of science investigating this outbreak, which could fit what I want. Michael Crichton bothers me. The book is presented as a report from a secret government project involving scientists and features text-based computer imagery that illustrates the results of various tests on the organisms. It does sound like it ticks the boxes of what I want, so I can 100% see why this was recommended. And so I'm going to keep it on the list of things that I should probably look at. Mira Grant was recommended. People were just like, just look at Mira Grant's other horror because it is all science-y, and I can see that. I did read Square Cubed, which was like a kind of like a First Contact-y story. So Feed is, I believe, the start of a series. Yeah, it's the Newsflash series. And so this follows a journalist who's reporting on a virus outbreak after a zombie apocalypse, I believe. Follows Georgia and her news team as they follow the presidential campaign of Republican Senator Peter Ryman. A series of deadly incidents leads Georgia and her brother Sean to discover efforts to undermine the campaign linked to a larger conspiracy involving the undead. I don't know if it's really going to fit it, but I guess Mira Grant does a lot of scientific research from what she was saying in her panel at ECC. And so I'm willing to bet there's a lot of science woven in here, but it sounds like it's kind of on the edges of what I was asking for because it's a viral outbreak. So it is going to be biology based, but it's not going to be quite the investigatory thing that Into the Drowning Deep was. I have one parasite book recommended, which is Mira Grant's Parasitology series. So this is actually another trilogy. And I'll just read the Goodreads summary. So the first one's called Parasite. And this one seems like it's going to be a little closer to what I was looking for. We owe our good health to a humble parasite, a genetically engineered tapeworm developed by the pioneering Symbogen Corporation. When implanted, the intestinal bodyguard worm protects us from illnesses, boosts our immune system, even secretes designer drugs. It's been successful beyond the scientist's wildest dreams. Now, years on, almost every human being has a Symbogen tapeworm living within them. But these parasites are getting restless, they want their own lives, and they're willing to do anything to get them. So it says it is related to the the Newsflash series. So it does sound like it could maybe be along those lines, but again, it's just a outbreak. So the main ones are really ones that kind of fall under this evolution / modification / adaptation and some sentient things. So we'll start with The Children of Time, which I have right here. So start with The Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, chunky paperback. I did read the first chapter of this one, and it does sound actually really interesting. So when I read the first chapter, we're following a scientist who is about to have her dreams come true and be this like well-respected scientist. They're about to release some monkeys and a like piece of nanotech or something that's supposed to evolve these monkeys, and then they're leaving them on this planet to watch them create a society, essentially. And it gets sabotaged, and the monkeys all get like spaced, and then there's like this mutiny and stuff, and they leave. That's the first chapter. So apparently the little evolutionary kickoff gets left on the planet, and it works on spiders. So on specifically a jumping spider. I don't like spiders, but I can handle them in books. It'll be fine. I think. We'll see. Essentially the spiders evolve on the exoplanet, and like thousands of years later, another society comes back. So that's where I said it's on the edge of it, because we're not investigating these things. We're just dealing with a biological aspect of a futuristic element of something. So we're kind of dealing with an evolution, but we're not really investigating it. So I guess it could be on the edges of that, but we'll see. The next one I thought was really interesting because it's an older one. Well, it's not old, but it's one of the older ones on this list. This came out in 2006. And it's called All Tomorrows, A Billion-Year Chronicle of the Myriad Species and Mixed Fortunes of Man. The cover is weird, and I kind of like it. So it says it's a 2006 work of science fiction and speculative evolution written and illustrated by the Turkish artist C.M. Kozman under the pen name Nemo Ramjet. It explores a hypothetical future path of human evolution set from the near future to a billion years from present. Several future human species evolve through natural means and through genetic engineering conducted by both humans themselves and by a mysterious and superior hive mind called the Q. It sounds like it's not really what I was looking for, but it sounds fascinating, and it is biology because it's evolution. So it's not an investigation, but it's a, hey, here's an evolutionary pathway that let's explore a what if scenario in the realm of evolution. So I want to read this. I think it could be really interesting. This one is fungus, and it's tentative. Honestly, it just sounds really interesting to me personally, but it sounds like it's more biopunk maybe than it is, like closer to biopunk than it is to like investigatory stuff. So it's called The Genius Plague by David Walton. This one came out in 2017. So it says, the science fiction thriller, brothers are pitted against each other as a pandemic threatens to destabilize world governments by exerting a subtle mind control over survivors. Neil Johns has just started his dream job as a code breaker in the NSA when his brother Paul, a mycologist, goes missing on a trip to collect samples in the Amazon jungle. Paul returns with a gap in his memory and a fungal infection that almost kills him. But once he recuperates, he has enhanced communication, memory, and pattern recognition. Meanwhile, something is happening in South America. Others like Paul have also fallen ill and recovered with abilities they didn't have before. But that's not the only pattern. The survivors, from entire remote Brazilian tribes to American tourists, all seem to be working toward a common and deadly goal. Neil soon uncovers a secret and unexplained alliance between governments that have traditionally been enemies. Meanwhile, Paul becomes increasingly secretive and erratic. Paul sees the fungus as the next stage of human evolution, while Neil is convinced that it is driving its human host to destruction. Brother must oppose brother on an increasingly fraught international stage with the stakes, the free will of every human on Earth. Can humanity use its force for good, or are we becoming the pawns of an utterly alien intelligence? So again, sounds like it's on the fringe edge of what I'm looking for, but it does have a biological thing happening. It only has 544 reviews, has 3,000 ratings, but it has a 3.8. I don't know. It's more of a suspense novel, according to these. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested enough in it to put it out there as something that might fit these requirements, though barely. It's like a shading, like lightly shading the box instead of coloring it in. The next one, though, I think does almost exactly what I want it to do. So this is a German novel, apparently. So it has been translated into English, I believe. This is called The Swarm by Frank Schatzing. It was first published in 2004, so this one's again a little bit older. It does have quite a few ratings on Goodreads. It has 28,000 ratings. So okay, this sounds though like it does what I want it to do. Whales begin sinking ships. Toxic eyeless crabs poison Long Island's water supply. The North Sea shelf collapses, killing thousands in Europe. Around the world, countries are beginning to feel the effects of the ocean's revenge as the seas and their inhabitants begin a violent revolution against mankind. In this riveting novel, full of twists and turns and cliffhangers, a team of scientists discover a strange, intelligent life force called the Ur that takes form in marine animals. I can't read today. Using them to wreak havoc on humanity for our ecological abuses. Soon, a struggle between good and evil is in full swing, with both humanity and sub-oceanic forces battling for control of the waters. At stake is the survival of Earth's fragile ecology and ultimately the survival of the human race itself. The Wikipedia article says the book follows an ensemble of protagonists who are investigating what at first appear to be freak events related to the world oceans. So we have the investigation, which is what I want. So this one, I read that and I was like, ooh, putting that up on my list. Then we have Jurassic Park. I mean, do we need to talk about Jurassic Park? I guess we can talk about Jurassic Park. I haven't read the book in a very long time and I got bored when I was reading it. But I've watched the movie hundreds of times. It was my brother's favorite movie when he was like 3, up until I moved out of the house when my brother was 17, so, or 16. So, I mean, I've seen the movie a lot, but the book has more science in it than the film does. So it's basically, it says, in 1989, strange animal attacks occur throughout Costa Rica. One of the species behind the attacks is believed to be a Procompsognathus, an extinct dinosaur. Paleontologist Alan Grant and his paleobotanist colleague Ellie Sattler are contacted to confirm the animal's identity, but are abruptly whisked away by billionaire John Hammond, the founder of bioengineering firm InGen, for a weekend visit to a biological preserve he has established on Isla Nublar near Costa Rica. So then we have the plot. But we're doing a little bit more science discussion in the book. Michael Crichton does this a lot. Apparently Ian Malcolm is his self-insert, who's like, why is science doing these things other than simply to prove they can? So my brother says it's one of his favorite books. He says the book is way better than the movies, but he loves the movie for an entirely different reason. I mean, it's been his favorite movie for like 28 plus years. So, however long the movie's been out. So I guess it's worth giving it a try at some point, but I have an issue with Michael Crichton. So, then we have The Mountain in the Sea, which I have been recommended a couple of times before, and I can see this one kind of fitting it because we're discovering like a species that we didn't know about, but it's also a sentient being. So it says, rumors begin to spread of a species of hyper-intelligent, dangerous octopus that may have developed its own language and culture. Marine biologist Dr. Ha Nguyen, who has spent her whole life researching cephalopod intelligence, will do anything for the chance to study them. The transnational tech corporation Dyneema has sealed the remote Condau archipelago, where octopuses were discovered, off from the world. Dr. Nguyen joins Dyneema's team on the islands, a battle-scarred security agent and the world's first android. The octopuses hold the key to unprecedented breakthroughs in extrahuman intelligence. The stakes are high. There are vast fortunes to be made by whoever can take advantages of the octopus's advancements. It goes on. So, sentient creature, corporation bad. Exploitation of sentient creatures. Standard sci-fi things. Could be interesting. Maybe won't do exactly what I'm looking for, but it is worth technically looking at, maybe. Then we have Semiosis. This one sounded like it would be a little bit closer. I like the cover a lot. So this one is a first contact, but also could be a little bit closer. Is my battery dying? I don't need this right now. Okay, we had to move so that I could plug my phone in. Apparently it's getting old because it just lost like 50% of my battery. So anyway, semiosis. We're almost done. To escape war and ecological disasters on Earth in the 2060s, a group of colonists attempt to forge a new life on a distant Earth-like planet they name Pax. They find the world is rich in flora and fauna and appears to be ideally suited for establishing a new colony, but they soon notice that some of the plant life is sentient and are manipulating them to further their own ends. So first contact, but if we're doing any sort of investigation, it sounds like we're doing some exploration. It could do what I want. Again, it's touchy. Actually, that was the last one. Okay, so I think my phone's gonna die. It died, and I'm so sorry. So I'm just gonna record this real quick and say thanks for sitting around talking to me about these books that I got recommended, and let me know if you think they fit the prompt that I asked for, if they sound enough like Into the Drowning Deep or Leech to you to be interesting. Let me know which off of this you think I should read first, because none of these are books that I have read. And I will see you soon with something else.